also that promo. Any comments on the promo? 100 million unique users, 67 minutes of daily time spent viewing. Gijsbert, do you have any of those kind of numbers available for Germany? Those unique users, 100 million. Wow.
Well, it doesn't get that big in Germany. I think the most important number to keep in mind when it comes to the German market is that about 30% of German consumers, or German households, are now CTV only, which means that linear television, so television via cable or via satellite, is not reaching them anymore. So if you don't have CTV campaigns running, you're not going to be on their screens anymore. And this situation is if you compare to the US, there we're approaching a majority of households very, very rapidly. So you have a very, very dark spot, so to say, when it comes to audiences, TV audiences, if you miss out on connected TV.
Yeah, and you talked about 30% on CTVs in Germany. That would be what, about 15 million people?
Yeah, we're talking about households, but yeah, at the very least. Yes. 15
million people in Germany. I mean, that's the number which people talk about India being on CTVs now. But even that number is considered, I don't know how healthy. For Germany, that must be large. I don't know how large it is for India. But coming back to Noelia, or is it Noella? How do you pronounce it? Noelia?
Noelia.
Fantastic. So Noelia, do those numbers that Woot threw up right now excite you too? Spain would be how many? What would the numbers be?
Yeah, of course. But honestly, I don't know the numbers of Spain in my head. So, but I think the trend that Gijsbert mentioned, I think the US is clearly the most mature market, but we see similar trends in Europe. The UK, I guess, would be the one that is closest to the US, but we definitely do see that trend of people accessing TV only through connected TV and
so cord cutting is very
not the traditional way. Yeah,
cord cutting is very much on, and cord was also very much on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, Vijay, can you unmute yourself? Cardinal mistake.
Yeah, there you go. I think what's important to hear is I think the numbers have to be seen in the perspective of the respective markets, right? And having said that, I think again it's just we're just getting started in each of the markets. Some markets are ahead of the curve. We all know the obvious. US being ahead of the curve when it comes to CTV adoption, and Europe and Southeast Asia and Asia, the rest of the markets are catching up. So the numbers as we see, and as probably next year, if you have similar, the numbers will be very different. But the interesting thing is, yes, the markets like Southeast Asia and South Asia, which were mobile first, the transition and adoption have happened to the bigger screens, and we'll see more bigger numbers coming our way.
Okay, Anita, you've heard all these very wise people. What's your perspective as an advertiser? Unmute yourself. Or activate your. Are you logging in through the phone? Then activate the audio through Wi-Fi. Otherwise, log in, log out, and log in again, because you should be able to speak, unless I've turned deaf, which might be the case also.
No, I think we can't hear very well.
You can't hear. Okay, so I'm not deaf.
No.
Yeah, because I might turn temporarily deaf. I mean, that's what most of my wives have said. I'm deaf. Yeah. So let's get on. Until Anita comes back, let's get into it. Like Vijay said, India is mainly a connected TV first. Is a mobile first market as compared to the and even Southeast Asia is mobile first. And how has the market behaved in the country that you are in terms of connected TVs? Who wants to pop up and speak about it? Gijsbert, you want to? And then Anita, can you check your audio if it's working? No, you haven't. Bloody hell. This is bollocks. Try it again. Maybe your audio is off. Your audio input is off in your settings. So Anita represents one of the larger advertisers in the country. It's a brand which is in the FMCG category, Patanjali Foods. I mean, there are enough channels knocking at the door to get some custom, because they could change the fortune of a broadcaster or of a connected TV service. I thought, yeah, you continue.
Shall I start answering your question?
Yeah, please.
I think the markets I researched the most were both the US and European markets so far. And there I can say, so in the US, you should never forget there's a major financial incentive to switch to connected TV because of all the cable companies there, which are very expensive, and you get a lot of content you're not going to consume. If you switch to CTV, you have much more consumer choice, and you can save a lot of money. So there's a huge incentive. This incentive is much less strong in Europe, where public television is still very big, and you don't have these cable subscriptions so strongly as in the US. You know, many have tried in the past. In Europe, they all failed. This incentive is less strong, and Europe has traditionally.
You'll have to switch off one, Anita. You'll have to switch off one of them. The computer connection, switch it off, and log in from your handphone. So this is Zoom's screw ups.
Yeah. Well, we all have to live with them. And the European market development is slower, but nevertheless, we also see cord cutting is a very big phenomenon there. From what I've seen in Southeast Asia and India, also in countries like Nigeria and South America, there you like with mobile, you jump over a couple of phases. People start from not having a television to a CTV. And this is rapidly growing in all markets.
Absolutely. So Anita, now can you join in, please?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Oh, lovely. Dude, that sounds like a nymph's voice. That sounds like an angel's voice.
I think my Zoom was just acting up on my PC. So sorry, I'm connecting from my mobile.
No, why? We can hear you. That's amazing.
So I missed out on some of the conversation, but just going back to what the previous question was, and a year back when I was at 3-5, we were hovering over the fact that CTV is becoming, should be becoming big. And at that point in time, a year and a half back, I think we were talking about some 5 to 6 million users on, CTV. And I was just reading an article somewhere which says that over the last 1 year, from 5 million, which we were talking about, it moved to 35. And I think we're in the range of about 70 million now.
CTV? Wow.
Yeah, so that's what the report says. In 1 year, it's doubled.
No. If you from 6.5, 5.5, 6 million to 70 would be a jump of about 10 times.
Yeah, but that was about 2 years back. So 35 million was a year back. So 35 million to 70 million in 1 year is about 100% jump. So I think it, from an opportunity perspective, I don't know, I've missed out on the question, Anil. So I'm just giving you a little perspective on the Indian CTV market that I'm aware of. So I think what's happening is that there is a lot of family viewing time also is coming back. And, given the COVID situation in the last 2 years, given everybody was operating from home, I think family viewing the instances increased when you were sitting around together and watching TV. And that was where the need to jump to CTV from your devices in your hand really came up. And, the other thing is that smart TVs, the pricing of smart TVs in the country is really gone down. And affordability of smart TVs increased. In fact, the Q2 increase in smart TV is 65% growth in revenues. So, which means that people are getting on there. And also, if you look at the smart TV manufacturers, whether it's an LG, whether it's a Samsung, whether it's a Sony, everybody is coming now with integrated, internet connections, and even the OTT and the apps are integrated on on the television itself. So I think I think experience of viewing anything on a larger screen vis-a-vis the little one in my hand, I think is much enriching, and that's why we log in on Zoom calls through our PCs and not so much through mobiles, unless it is a situation like where I am in today, right now. But I think it's growing. I think the experience is amazing, and I also think that the more the TV manufacturers are coming up with the integration of the apps and the OTTs and various other things, is just making things and life in terms of viewing content easier for the audiences.
Okay, Vijay, do you agree with those numbers? 70 billion and Gijsbert, do you agree with those? I think it's a little high, because I thought, last year when we did something, we were don't mind me disagreeing with you, Anita. We were estimating about 15 to around 15 million by this year. But
it reached 25 million in 21.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that number is, and what I'm quoting is out of one of the reports that I read online, which says that in 1 year from 35 million it's gone to 70. Even if we take a considered number, I think it would anywhere be in the range of 45 to 50 million.
Wow, that's a large base.
Yeah.
So let's get into CTV 101. What are the options? What are the formats available for connecting with these audiences? Who wants to take this up? I think Gijsbert, you wanted to, or does Vijay want to do? Whoever wants to take it up, the formats. I think you are excited to talk about the formats, right, Gijsbert?
I am very excited. Well, I think what is important to realize is that connected TV changes the way people behave in front of their television. The whole experience becomes much more interactive, and that's also why it's a bit dangerous to see an opposition between CTV and mobile. I think they can cooperate quite easily. By the simple fact, most of the CTV manufacturers by now allow you to use your mobile phone as a remote control, and that's where the ad formats come in, because it allows you to experiment with ad formats that are much more interactive, so to say. We have clients that are experimenting with QR codes, for example, putting QR codes in their TV ads for mobile apps. And people can grab the QR code and immediately download the app. During the Super Bowl, 1.5 weeks ago, we saw that Coinbase did a commercial with QR codes. The QR code was moving on the screen, and it was incentivized. If you were capable of grabbing it, you got a discount and things like that. So that's something you should approach is from this angle of interactivity. Now, because it's CTV enhances consumer choice. You will see formats that fit far more easily within a device where the consumer is much more in control. The best example I found from that so far was an ad that was displayed when people hit the pause button. Instead of disrupting, it was something that disrupting what people want to see. It was something that showed up when people had a break anyway, and it was super contextualized because it was a commercial for toilet paper, which was very funny because why you hit the pause button because you need a break, so to say.
You might want to break for a glass of water.
Well, but then you can fit into that context as.
No offense, man. I was just trying to give a light.
No. It makes sense, but there are far more possibilities. So when it comes to these ad formats, then I think the best way to approach them is from this angle of interactivity, and I cannot predict what is going to happen, but I think we're going to see much more.
I agree with that. There's a lot of opportunity for growth in the types of formats we're going to see, but I think we also need to acknowledge that we're at an early stage. I mean, we're just scratching the surface of what can be done. We always try to make things simple, but it's still complex. Of course, you can watch CTV because you have a smart TV, as Anita was saying, but there are also, which is another reason for fast growth, there's very affordable ways to turn a regular TV into connected TV, right? Like, whether it's a set-top box, a dongle, and you have many platforms that you can get the content from, right? Not necessarily the TV manufacturer. So getting to a point in which you can get super advanced formats that can give you interactivity, where you can even do product placement and stuff like that, across the board, across all of the TVs out there connected to the internet, is going to take an evolution, just as what happened in mobile, right? At the beginning, our ads were very basic. But and to your point, Gijsbert, of CTV and mobile, what we can do is try and gain or provide the capability for users to engage or provide that interactivity through the mobile and connected TV, right? So QR codes is one way. Another thing that can be done that we do at MediaSmart is syncing your mobile campaigns with your TV, so that immediately after seeing your ad on TV, you get another ad on your phone if you're within the household, and that does complete your experience and gives you a
so you also could get notifications,
generate engagement.
Right? Yeah, you could also
it's
get
not a
notifications.
Yes, you could. Yes. Yeah, but syncing those, because obviously each channel has its advantages. The big screen is great. As Anita was saying also, everybody prefers to look at the big screen, right? As opposed to, go blind in the small one, but it does have its limitations in terms of engagement today, right? And I do see that changing very quickly, and the TV itself being able to generate that engagement with your remote, but it's not where we are today.
Okay, Vijay?
Like a very
go ahead,
yeah. So what is important when it comes to syncing, dual screening is a reality. People use their mobile phones while watching connected TV. And if you're a smart advertiser, you can take very, very good advantage of this.
Great.
Yeah, I think what we're saying is right. In terms of we seeing a lot of emerging formats where the dual screen, and the dual screen is a reality. Whether we like it or not, it's a reality. And that's where we see a seamless integration happening. The QR codes coming into play, making the linear TV experience more immersive, people, brands engaging and connecting with. Now, having said that, there's a slight, right now, you have to look at two aspects. Today, when a media agency, or for that matter, brand is looking at CTV, they're looking at CTV predominantly as an extension of a linear TV, but with the granularity and the benefits of digital, which is great. We are looking for a brand uplift and all that, which is fine. As we move along, as we move forward, these interactive formats will definitely come to play. And of course, the interactive formats and the shrinking of view from content to commerce in a single view has happened. Earlier, we used to have about 3-view experience, exposure, awareness, and action. Now it's coming to the single on the back of this. But there is another limitation which at this point of time exists, is these formats sometimes tend to be siloed. Now, for example, Hulu offers this, but it's on it cannot be done scaled up. Or LG may offer it, or some of the guys may offer, which is at this point of time happens to be more led by a managed service. Not yet there when it has to be enabled programmatically. Not that it's not to be done. I think it's a good sign that the transition and already the interactive formats have come into play. And I think the adoption of interactive format will be faster as compared to what happened on the desktop or a mobile. So as we move along, that will happen. But yes, we are early stages, and it can unlock. Another interesting would be the unified ID. Now, currently, if you look at the ecosystems, you have the manufacturers like Samsung, and they have phones. You have Xiaomi's, and they have phones, right? They could, right now, they not necessarily be able to do that unified ID, but as we move forward, as unified ID and ID solutions come into play, all these things can unlock a whole lot of things what you probably just not able to envisage at this point of time. So they're here to stay.
Great. Anita, you want to talk about the format, since you just very recently you were in Z5 and now you're handling a massive brand in India?
I kind of tend to agree with all three. So my views are not any different. The only thing is that, at the moment, and I'll talk about India, we are in a very nascent stage to really figure out as to how seamlessly it can be integrated and how seamlessly the interactivity can happen, because it's all about immersive viewing, right? Now, whether the mobile and the CTV is connected or not, whether we can use QR codes, whether we can do it for gaming, for example, it's quite a interesting thing to be using it for big screens for gaming, rather than doing it through your two thumbs on your phone, for example. So I think that we are in a nascent stage, and like Vijay rightfully said, I think the speed with which we will improvise will be far lesser than the speed with which, for example, we graduated to OTTs. So I think I kind of agree with.
Let's talk about more formats. We are stuck with pre-rolls, mid-rolls, post-rolls. We are stuck with those. I mean, until then, what? We go with those, or we have branded content coming in, or do we have brand placement coming in OTT and in CTVs? Well, how do we proceed from here until we get that seamless integration?
So I think sorry. Go on.
Anita, you go ahead. You will have a bit of perspective coming from a brand, and then I can add my 2 cents to it.
No, I'm also struggling, honestly, if you ask me. But the options available right now are very few, though the opportunity is large, to my mind. And what one is really seeking is, because there is so much of viewership on the OTTs, and with Prime Video and Netflix not offering you any advertising opportunities, I think the route that everybody is also taking is through branded content. And branded content is nothing new. We've done it all our lives, from the last 2 decades or so, when brands became seamlessly integrated into the storyline of content, or, being used wherever they make sense. So branded content is one way, but my only concern with branded content is that, unless you've got the synergies right, audiences can see through it. If you're putting a brand on the table, audiences can see through it, and then that doesn't become very interesting viewing or interesting the way brand is depicting itself to the audiences. So you have to really plan brand placements, or seamlessly integrating your brand into some content pieces much in advance. So the lead time is a little higher, and in today's day and age, with the way the digital is progressing, where is the lead time? So those are a few areas of.
See, the other complication is that even the TV brands are themselves starting to port content on startup, and they're also delivering their own ads on when you start up the landing pages, etc.
Yeah.
So go ahead now. I mean, Vijay, you wanted to speak?
Yeah. So I think what Nayyar said, and what you alluded to, Anil. If you look at even today, when you look at there is a clear intent on OTT first approach in terms from the BVOD players or broadcasters. They want to be on OTT and then probably have it on the broadcast channel. Other thing, it's a certain, maybe you just probably change the nomenclature, but what is called the OTT originals, right? It's another way of branded content. But the interesting way, as Anita called it, unless and until it's seamlessly integrated, the brands can see, the consumers like you and me can see through it, and it can be a counterproductive. Now that's where the opportunity lies, yes. But then there is another thing, is it's also the lead times, and also still on a managed service environment. It's are you able to offer that in a programmatic way, which is where you want to have scalable thing come into play? Not yet, because of the lead times and things. So there are brands, and there are the content OTT players who are offering these formats. Or there's another way is, hey, you do a contextual genre-based adoption of it. Correct. So you start doing associations. I'm just taking that for the sake. Any particular FMCG brand launches a new shampoo with ingredients store from Korea or Japan, they may start playing around Korean content. We've seen that in the part of the world, and that happens. That's another way of this. Another thing which is going to come while we're doing the formats and all this, which is good. The other integral part is, how do we start doing the content object? Because where you have the in CTV, the ACR data, in OTT, you have to have a content object targeting to start enriching how it's just not about putting a format or just putting an ad out there. No matter how interactive it is and how engaging it is, you also need to be bringing in the insights and showing it to the audiences, which makes sense. So the long and short of the answer, the various OTT players are already experimenting with various opportunities to engaging with the brand. how seamlessly and how we can scale it is the question. Because if it just stays as a managed service, it just stays, then you're not necessarily unlocking the full potential.
Okay, Gijsbert and Noelia, whoever wants.
I would say I totally agree, and being a bit old and having been in the mobile space forever, I can't help but see the same evolution that we followed in mobile now on CTV. It's just and there's always that balance between reach and how great you're at it, right? And as long as the market is fragmented and there are no standards, you can have the greatest interactive format, but it's only enabled by this particular platform or by this particular publisher. And if you want to reach scale, you have to go with a minimum common denominator, right? And that I'm confident that evolution is going to happen much faster than it happens in mobile, but it's an evolution we have to go through, right? Again, so if we want to reach scale, which is what I was talking about.
But the scale she talked about, 70 million in India, that's large.
No, but those are viewers, right? But then is how your platform is ready to support the formats. Because we're talking about the formats, right? You're ready to serve the content, but is your platform ready to serve an ad that allows the user to engage in the actual TV, right? And that is what takes time, because there is a lot of technology involved also, and again, getting to standards. So we need to use, if we want to maximize scale, we need to use the tools and the technology that we have at our disposal today to find that. And that's why I was referring to mobile, which has formats that are already evolved and allow that interactivity to be used as much as we can while the ecosystem evolves, which it is doing.
Okay, so Gijsbert?
Well, not much to add to but I can echo what was said previously about the organizational challenges, because you made a very good point there about marketing departments being separated in TV and digital, and CTV is breaking that up. And it's very funny, because when I talk to companies, sometimes they're a bit confused. Oh, should he talk to TV or should he talk to digital? And then I try to get everybody in the room, and particularly if you want to deliver on interactivity, then that is obviously a major challenge. And to the point about the platforms, I guess it also depends a little bit on the markets you're in. Not every market is ready for interactive branded content. They are out there, most definitely. I've seen, for example, I was flabbergasted by something I saw from Tencent. They have the capability of inserting ads in content and localize this, contextualize it. So you're watching so you and I are watching the same TV show, and there's a bus riding through, in a scene, and they already have the technology to make sure that you and I see a different brand on the bus. Right? Yeah. Depending on our location and our preferences and the first-party data they have about us. And they can do that, when you see a scene in a restaurant, they can put a leaflet on the table and it has a different brand too. They can change the posters, and they can do this. They can do this in real time. It's super impressive. But I think not every market is ready for that.
Okay, it's not every market, that's understood. They're not ready for interactivity. So in the absence of all of interactivity and standards and, so what are the best practices one has to bear in mind while resorting to connected TV advertising? Who wants to take this up? What are some of the best practices?
I can probably set up go to it. Now, I always go, and when I speak to the brands, now reality is the brands and the planners, a lot of markets look at TV plus planning, right? Now, while they're doing TV plus planning, and when it comes to the digital, then the thought process starts in mobile, CTV, whatever other screens it will be. My thing is, hey, first, instead of looking at that, look from a video approach. It should be a video approach rather than a screen approach. The screens you deploy will depend upon the KPI, the audiences you want to achieve, because each screen brings its plus points and does have its minuses as well. So you expect the same CTV to perform just like a highly measurable mobile device at this point of time? The answer is no. You're setting a wrong expectation. So that is there. Now, again, you need to have a very clear objective. What are you achieving? The brands, as I said, every market is at a different stage of adoption, and I think some markets can do interactivity. They can start looking at interactivity, but the interactivity you drive from a CTV is likely to be different and can be different in what the interactivity is and what you're expecting out of a mobile interactive or desktop interactivity. So that's something that has to be clearly understood. The other important thing is look step back also in terms of what are we doing, because currently the first party data is again if I'm using any lack of any term, is siloed. It's on the screen on the CTV, and there's the publishers are not necessarily right there to have a third party data systems there. So be really realistic. While it's a digital ecosystem, but if you expect, hey, let's get the same metrics, it's not there, and that's an important point to understand before you start setting and wrapping up CTV. Because and usually I've seen there's this question which come up about, hey, what's the viewability like? It's a big picture. It's going to be there, but I don't blame, because I think that's just the educational process which comes in, which help as everyone who's in the space will be setting that expectation, help them move this transition.
Okay, great. Anyone else wants to step in? I'll get on to the one is practices of planning, and the other could be also on the creative side of the advertisement. So we'll continue with the media concerns that we have.
Yeah, I just wanted to build up on what Vijay said, which I totally agree with. I think silos are a problem as an advertiser. You know, you need to look at your target audience, and that target audience will be exposed to many screens, right? I mean, it's not, they interact with their laptop, they interact with their tablet and phone, and they interact with their TV. So you need to think about your goal to target that audience and think about their journey and then decide, right? But thinking about what do I do on CTV versus what do I do on the phone separately versus, I think it becomes a problem, because you sort of, put yourself a bunch of barriers to achieve that goal, right? So I think that would be my very first advice. And then when you think about those audiences, of course, I totally agree again with Vijay that there are limitations today on the TV itself. But again, you can learn a lot about the audiences of the TV by understanding the users in the household, right? So there's still ways to again reach that audience using technology that allows you to sync, and then you put your goal first, and then see how you can use the different channels together, taking the advantages of each of them. And obviously, the big screen is great to tell a story, right, and build brand awareness. Yeah.
So you want to add to that, or you want to get onto creative formats, Gijsbert?
I want to add something, because measurement is obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So data is data until you can put it together and analyze it. Yeah.
It's our bread and butter. So, well, the important thing when it comes to this realization is that CTV is not a standalone. Is that when, in terms of measurement, we need to approach this both horizontally and vertically. That sounds a bit abstract, but let me try to explain it. So horizontally, what I mean by that is that you need to measure connected TV in context. You need to try to figure out, which is sometimes hard, I'll admit it, but you need to try to figure out how CTV stands out compared to your Facebook campaigns, your Google campaigns, etc. And you need to have that what I call this vertical holistic approach. What you also need to be aware of, and that's the vertical part, that there's a big chance that the users that eventually come in via Facebook or via Google, that they have seen connected TV ads, and you need to find a measurement provider that is capable of making you aware of that, and it allows you to analyze these segments. So you see what I mean? So imagine the following: you have a group of users, two groups of users, both come in via, let's stick with Facebook. Both of them come in via, convert via Facebook, and they install your mobile app. And then you should be able to segmentize those two groups and say, okay, I'm going to look at them and approach them. Some of them have seen connected TV, others haven't. What's the difference between those? Do they stay longer? Do they spend more money? Do they churn faster, or do they churn slower, etc., etc.? That is the approach. So both this vertical and horizontal approach that you need to analyze your connected TV campaigns in a good way. And the more I learn about this, the more I find this vertical perspective important, because connected TV has what I call a super strong assisting power. You know, it can lift up other campaigns. You know, campaigns on your that happen on your mobile phone. And yeah, I mean, for us as a measurement provider, that's the huge challenge, to make that visible.
Yeah, but do we have enough tools to be able to do the data and analytics across? Do we have enough of those tools? Is that a limitation to really use to understand connected TV, how effective our campaigns are?
I think we're getting there. Yes, I think we're getting there. But also here you have to make the point, we're in a nascent stage. We didn't start with this until about a year ago. There are limitations, and yeah, here it also depends on the market you're in and the platform you're working with. But I think we're getting there.
Okay, so creative formats, and secondly, is CTV advertising for all categories of products, or this is 101, so we've got to cover that also. Is it for all categories of products, or is it limited to some categories which work better? Is it good for e-com, or is it good for who wants to step up? Anita, you want to step up on formats, creative formats? Whether it should be a static JPEG, it should be a meme, even on delivered via OTT, or should it be a 3-second ad, or should it be a 7-second ad? Have you got any understanding on that on CTVs?
I don't think there are any benchmarks really as of now on what works, what doesn't work, for the simple reason that we are absolutely in a nascent stage, and I don't think there are enough number of studies which have. Unlike digital, when we speak about and we say the brand has to say whatever it has to say in the first 3 seconds, otherwise you're out, because that's what the attention span is. I would fathom from the usage and from one being viewing on CTV, the amount of time that one is spending on CTV is because of appointment viewing, and hence the 3 seconds should extend. I don't know whether to 5 seconds or to 7 seconds. So, but nonetheless, I think if you're talking about time being spent and the secondage being increasing vis-a-vis the attention span of the person who's watching something because of appointment viewing, we have to really take a call on that. So I don't think there are any benchmarks on what formats work, what formats don't work. And I just wanted to add to the fact that the panel is talking about measurability. India as a country, I think we've always struggled with measurability, whether it is television, whether when people move from television to digital, we said, television plus or digital adds incremental reach at a much cheaper cost. And then now there are CTVs. So there has to be something which has to seamlessly integrate, because television, linear TV is not going anywhere as far as India is concerned, at least for the next 10 years, given that the penetration is so high, and given the way, the skews of rural, audiences there as well, and the reach of television. So I think each country needs to treat it differently, and also at what stage are you really in that whole, vertical thing, as you were mentioning, to say that where India as a country is there, and if you are there, then what is it that you need to advertise? Which brands, for example, find synergies with CTV? So to my mind, the brands who would really find synergies with linear television is the one which should logically find connection with them. But all said and done, I think measurability is a big issue, because we don't have bases. There are no common bases in the first place. So I don't know what digital adds to television. I don't know what CTV will add to mobile. I don't know what mobile adds to television. So the whole matrix needs to be really worked. And
but how can you work that? Because the monitoring agencies are separate. They're not
That's
one.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But neither the bases are common nor the monitoring agencies are the same. So it becomes very difficult. Much that I don't want to look at things in silos, I will look at how I'm reaching through mobile. What is my reach through mobile, or what is my reach through CTV? So there were planners who used to earlier do only television planning. Then we started to do video planning on various platforms, and now I think we are moving to a screen planning. For your videos, how are you doing screen planning? So it's a double-edged sword. You don't know, you want to do it, yet you don't know whether after spending that money the returns are going to come. And brands across, I think anybody who's spending money is obviously very sensitive to ROI, right?
But anyway, we don't know which side of there are 15% spends we are doing on is being wasted or not. That's an old complaint.
Yeah, but one is living with it, Anil, because you have the levers of the world spending 800, 900 crores on people meters, which are ranging into, not more than a lakh.
Are the brands really paying for the viewership reports? For monitoring, not really.
No. I'm saying the amount of money that a brand is spending on advertising based on data, which to my mind is trends and not really exact data, because you cannot project the entire base of a sample size on a country as large as India. So those debates will always continue, but it is always good to have something rather than not having anything. So that's where the concerns are really, and it's a little.
So anyone else who's got more understanding of the categories, the duration, then Anita aired a problem that she faces, that everything's in silos, so they can't but help plan in silos.
Yeah, I would just say about the categories that as an advertiser, CTV is for anyone that is, first of all, that as Anita was saying, is already advertising on linear TV. You can only gain from CTV. But what we see at least is the brands that are more proactive to CTV advertising today are the more digital brands. The ones that were born digital, right, as opposed to the old brick and mortar. And I think that has to do with again, they may have less silos. They may be used to working on digital, and not so much in other channels. And then of course the brands whose content or services are consumed on a CTV are a clear fit, right? If you're an OTT yourself, you can advertise to promote your app on CTV, and of course OTT were the first ones. Now there is apps that either education or health and fitness. So if you're delivering your content through an app on CTV, you're a clear fit as an advertiser as well. But I would say it's for everybody. There's just different stages.
What about duration? What about durations? Is it 3 seconds? Is it JPEGs? Is it GIFs? Is it animated GIFs? Or is it proper video? Or does it have to be 3, 5, 7, 10?
Yeah, right. What we see is video, but I don't know. I don't think I can talk about trends. As Anita said, I think it's early. I don't know if I would defer to Vijay or Gijsbert.
I think I'll
do you have any more info?
Yeah, I can probably chime in here a bit. The first, what Anita said, right? When the transition happened from the TV to adoption of digital, especially the CPG guys were the first movers. The GRPs, which is a lot of the common denominator used, was tried to apply to digital. And early days, we had IGRPs being worked out. I recall working with one of the FMCGs and trying to help the brand managers understand what could be a similar metrics and try and create an IGRP. Now, of course, it has evolved, with the on-target percentages and all coming into play. We have reached, they cracked it out. However, when the transition is coming into another screen, which is linear, which is on the extension of linear, but in a digital space and still evolving, what really comes into play is, I think the KPI will come to play in the beginning. Now, you can't expect a simple KPI, what you're expecting out of a mobile campaign to come out of a CTV. And the reason I say that, for example, if you're doing a cost per install campaign, or not necessarily cost per, but a basket sale through for e-commerce, to expect that kind of a sale on CTV may not be, at this point of time, could be premature because of the scale and other factors. The another interesting thing could be the formats what Anil was saying or what are working. Now, in-stream is there, but what you see when you're working with the OEM manufacturers, right? There's some of the smart TVs, and whether it's Xiaomi's of the world, TCL, LG's or Samsung, they all have started utilizing the home screen inventory, the home launcher. That's also becoming a very
absolutely. That's what I said. The landing page.
Right? The landing page, the home launchers is essentially one of, if I had to say the good old days terminology, the gateway pages to the website, right? That's becoming, and I recall working with a hospitality client trying to do it. Yes, what they were expecting out of that is different. I've seen definitely working for the entertainment or OTT players, because it becomes your click away from installing. You want to be on that screen. So certain categories lead completely seamlessly to that screen, but for other categories, probably it could be part of an overarching strategy. But probably the what you're expecting has to be more realistic or fine-tuned. So that's where I think we would say. And in terms of the length, right? It could be 50. Well, the people say it could be 15 and 30. But if you look at in CTV, it's the act pods which get created. Now, act pods are based on how publisher, whether he wants to create a 30-second ad count, and within 30 seconds he wants to run 2 ads of 15, or he wants to have 6 ads of 5 seconds. It comes down to that. But it's come down to publisher that what is the kind of thing. But
then the advertiser to then create that 5-seconder.
If you're today saying, if you look at it, advertiser in any case is creating a host of creative suits with a uniform thing. You are creating a 6-seconder. You are creating a 10, you're 15, 30. That's already been created, right? It's a question of what creative they want to use for that particular screen. And
so you're leaving it to the publisher rather than to the brand. In certain cases, the brand has more weight, where the brand is anyway.
Usually 15 and 30, up to 30 works, right? But then there are cases, I know some OTT players who ran 1 minute video, non-skip.
Okay.
Well, and publisher would love to take it, but honestly, that's a user dissonance, because the time I start putting my take off my hat and as a consumer, we all know even a 5-second ads can sometimes be, you want to skip that. That's human tendency, right? So if you're forcing through someone 1 minute, you may have a forced completion rate, but trust me, as a user, you're losing that consumer. As a brand, you're losing that consumer. So it's about marrying how you want to do. There's certain formats which probably do better in a certain screen, and that's something that has to be taken into account. Just because it's available and you can't skip it unless until you don't start forcing.
Okay, so we are running out of time. So I'd like you all to mention the challenges and the opportunities quickly in about 3 sentences or 4 sentences. Then we'll each of you will wrap up.
Well, let me kick off then. I think what stood out in through the whole of the discussion is that we're in a nascent stage. The point I'd like to make is that yes, that's very true. But think about all the opportunities that brings. Stepping in right now means that you can make mistakes, that you can experiment, that you can try things, and that also, that's a very important thing, that you can shape the ecosystem, right? Because everybody is adopting. The platforms are adopting, the measurement providers are adopting, the publishers are adopting. And if you step in now, you're going to, whatever role you're playing, you're going to have an impact on what's possible in 4 to 5 years. So yes, it's early stages. Step in now because it's exciting and you can have an impact.
Anita?
I think there would
challenges
be no
and opportunities. Challenges and opportunities.
Yes. So I'm going to address that only. I think there will be no opportunities if there were no challenges, right? And for every industry, there's a nascent stage. And for CTVs also, currently what we are talking about is a nascent stage. We've seen over the years that all those challenges have been overcome by some means or the other, because people see a lot of opportunities. So these opportunities are not only for advertisers, the opportunities are for the platform, the opportunities are for the OTT guys, the opportunities are for the measurement agencies. So look at the plethora of opportunity it opens up. So I think, we should be getting along as we've gotten along over the years.
So basically, trip, get up, get up, get some bruises. Okay.
As long as you get up, I think that's important.
Noelia, challenges, opportunities.
Yeah, again, the opportunity is clear.
Not just opportunities. We all know.
No. I'm going to go to the challenge, but I'm saying that there's nothing stopping consumer trends, and advertisers always follow eyeballs, right? So there's the opportunity is clear. I think one of the challenges I'd like to highlight is a bit on us, and as advertisers or those who work with advertisers, is managing expectations, right? Because again, the same thing happened when going from offline to digital, right? We all of a sudden, we can measure everything with the utmost granularity, and we have these expectations, and the fact that some things are not measurable, or that you still, for all these reasons we discussed, don't have all the information that you may, be used to having in other channels, it doesn't mean that there is not a lot of value there, right? So, and again, as Gijsbert was saying, if you wait until it is advanced, it will be too late. And also by waiting, we cannot advance as fast, right? So let's just manage those expectations and not, expect that because it's not measurable or because it's not absolutely granular, it's not valuable. It is, right?
Okay. Yeah, Vijay?
Yeah, I think everyone, I echo with what has been said, and I call it out again. I think one of the biggest challenges at this point of time is the infrastructure or the ecosystem. And secondly is the limited understanding of the CTV screen or space or domain. Now, having said that, there are challenges today, but that's an opportunity to shape up, because if you have an infrastructure, you could be part of it by getting whether it's infrastructure, ecosystems, or measurability, what is expected, we can get there. And if the limited understanding also means that you can set the right expectations and help that, so eventualize that. So to what you called out, Anil, it's, do you trip and get up? Absolutely, test and learn is the best forward, because that's how you kind of get the magic formula down the line.
Okay. Now, this is the last round from you all. 3 best practices that a brand, an agency, a platform, as well as anyone else in the intermediary should bear in mind. The best practices they should bear in mind. 3 best practices for advertisers from Noelia, and then moving on to your from platform, agency.
Yeah, I think that I already mentioned them before.
No, once again, I want you to just 3 best practices. It's have a separate team, have a common team.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I can summarize. What I try to say is have your audience in mind, not look at things by channel, and just keep that in mind. Each channel is the best way you can, and keep them in sync. Taking into account the customer journey. That's how I would summarize.
Okay, Gijsbert? Oh, you're muted.
Mute.
Integrate your teams, because this is really where TV and digital come together. Realize that people behave differently behind a connected TV than behind a TV, and find a good measurement partner.
Okay, Anita?
I think we should stop, working in silos. That is one. And the second thing is brands exist because there's a customer out there. So the focus has to be completely on the customer and follow the journey through and try and catch him wherever he's available.
Okay, Vijay?
Keep it simple. I think get back to basics. Plan, have a clear objective, what you want of that campaign and of that screen, and also plan for the overall campaign or objective rather than for the screen.
Fantastic. Thank you. I wish we had another hour. We could go on and learn a lot more from each other. But thank you for sharing your views, and it's been a pleasure hosting you all. I hope it's been valuable for the audiences who've been listening in. And thank you, Noelia. Thank you, Vijay. Thank you, Gijsbert. And thank you, Anita, for your time. Thank you and for your insights.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much for having us.
Thank you.